Hallo und herzlich willkommen zu einer weiteren Folge Chaos hat nur. So, ja, wir sind beim letzten Mal, hat Senna ihren Vater wieder getroffen und wurde dann, sagen wir mal, ein bisschen unfreundlich unterbrochen im, in Anführungszeichen, Gespräch mit ihrem Vater. Oder anders gesagt, ihr Vater hat sich schützend vor sie geworfen und wurde dabei erschossen. But Senna was not the only one suffering from such a state. Kosovo was as well. Ja, stimmt. Psychic attack. An enormous mirror had materialized in front of the collapsed girl, and within it a reflection of her, with her legs covered in blood, asked her a single question. Kosovo froze in terror. Large tears began to flow from her eyes. The one she wanted to forget, the past she never wanted to remember. Tears of a deep decay began leaking from her heart and mind. She wanted to run away as far as her legs could take her. Desiring nothing more than to look away from the mirror, she wished to turn away. Yet forgetting her will entirely, her body refused to move. Herself, on the other side of the mirror, was not shedding even a single tear. Okay.
私は誰。
Gestaltzerfall, geil, deutsches Wort. She was collapsing into Gestaltzerfall. Just like when she had lost all words so long ago. Just like when her heart and mind had broken so long ago. No longer able to see herself. She herself questioned herself in the mirror. She lacked any certainty that it was her own voice. She lacked any certainty that it was her own hairstyle. She lacked any certainty that it was her own nose. Okay, welche Punkte arbeiten wir noch ab? She lacked any certainty that it was her own pair of eyes. She lacked any certainty that it was in the fullness of her own lips. Ey, wie lang geht das? That it was her own shape. Her own face.
私は誰？君はコズピーだよ。
Taku! Her shape in the mirror had been on the cusp of dividing infinity. But the voice that had suddenly burst into her mind had put a stop to it.
私はコズピー。私はコズピー。
Okay. Das ging aber schnell, das Aufheitern. She reconfirmed her identity. Kose had returned to herself. Cracks ripped through the enormous mirror before her, and then it shattered into pieces. Kose searched for the voice of her savior. When her gaze arrived at the ticket gate, she recognized exactly who it was. Her real voice, the one that would have been lost forever, called out to him. Oh. Kosopi called out, not with her inner voice, but with her real voice. I realized that it was the first time I had ever heard her use it. It was thanks to Kosopi that I had managed to get over here so quickly. I'd been next to a policeman box at the top of Dogenzaka when I had heard her inner voice screaming for help. Running towards that voice had brought me here, and when I got here I saw Senna and Kosopi, faces pale from being shown in delusion. I couldn't see, and Hatano-san collapsed and covered in blood. I had found him, but I was too late.
こいつはラッキーっすね。
A man with a gun in his hand was standing at the crossing. He twirled and whirled it around his fingers, as if he were some sort of gunslinger. Contrasting heavily with the suit he was wearing, he had a rucksack on his back, A harsh mechanical noise was emanating from it. Suwa Mamoru, a detective from the Tokyo MPD's first investigation division. This wasn't the first time I had run into him, and I knew exactly what he had done.
もともとは目障りな畑の親子を処分しに来たんすけどね。西条くん、君が自分から火に飛び込んできてくれて感謝感激っす。君を見かけたら捕まえろってことになってるんすよ。
誰に？
内緒っす。
He smiled a flippant smile, one that was somewhat reminiscent of Detective Barnes. But there was one key difference. Detective Barnes might always been just an act meant to throw people off or rise them up. When it came to Suwa, however, this sly smile was who he truly was.
あんたはノロセの居場所を知ってる？
西条くんさ。
Suwa heaved a sigh, shaking his head in an extremely exaggerated motion.
口の聞き方に気をつけてほしいっすね。自分の方が年上っすよ。
バンっていう人を殺したのはあんただ。
だから
刑事のくせに人を殺すなんて。
君には言われたくないっす。
I gripped my D-sword tightly.
あんたみたいなやつに敬語を使う義理なんてないよ。
そんな舐めた口聞いていいんすか？殺すぞ。
Alter, der Blick. Der Blick, ey. Boah, ey, das ist schon übel, der Blick. Even from this distance, it was clear to see. The smile on Suwa's face had disappeared. Without moving from where he was, he gestured with his free hand like he was trying to shake something off. An impact followed by pain. It was an all too abrupt sensation. When I looked at my shoulder in surprise, I saw a familiar-looking cross pierced into it. No, it was no cross. It was a stake, a cross-shaped stake from the crucifixion case. It had come at me too fast to see. The area was so dark I hadn't even realized it was flying toward me until it had already hit me. Suwa had thrown it, without moving from his spot. He had thrown it from that distance with pinpoint accuracy. I cautiously touched the stake. It felt cold and smooth. Was it an illusion, or was it real? The pain was growing more and more intense. I couldn't put any strength into my hand. I wasn't able to hold onto my D-sword anymore. Suwa raised his voice in an attempt to suppress his rage. Okay. Not even a moment later, Suwa was holding even more cross-shaped stakes in her hand. Doing his best to restrain his furious rage that was on the verge of pouring out, he fired off the additional stakes toward Nishizo Takumi. They disregarded all form of drag and the laws of physics altogether. As if they possessed wills of their own. They speed intended toward Takumi's arms. 15 had found their marks thus far. Not a single one had missed. They had assaulted Takumi's shoulder, upper arms, wrists, palms, hips, sides, knees and shins. Blood spilled from every one of his deeply carved wounds. Suwa already had another stake in his hand, and once again he fired it off just like in the others. Okay.
自分が万能の神になったような気がするんだ。
I felt an incredibly strange sensation. He's probably not even listening to me anyway, Suwa thought to himself. Each and every one carved into my body only made me feel more alive. Suwa hurled yet another stake toward Takumi, who hung his head at the mercy of his attacker.
俺はただの人間だけどな。お前らと同等の力を手に入れる。
All of it could be attributed to the rucksack the man was wearing on his back, a bag housing a Noah 2 terminal within it. With that, he could enjoy Noah's 2 powers even at a distance. He would become an artificial gigalomaniac. Suwa found himself wholly bewitched by its power. He was among the fanatics, he was among the vanguard, who would commit the dirtiest of deeds in the name of the founder of his teachings.
この力は神からの贈り物だ。信仰のため、信じる者のために戦えるんだから。
Suwa hurled yet another stake. And it penetrated the nape of my neck. It penetrated the nape of Takumi's neck. Okay, interessant. I was racked with extreme pain. The pain that felt as if my entire body was being torn in two. Painfully, I felt as if I might go insane. The boiling, ruthless bloodlust in Suwa's heart demanded to know just how much pain the boy could endure. Before some of the thoughts were taking place, death began to rear its head. He would make death rear its head in time, in him. Okay. I was unable to wrist, and while I still managed to put enough force into my legs as to stop myself from falling over, Takumi was unable to wrist, and while he was still managed to avoid falling over, none of that could prevent the hail of stakes coming at him. My chest, my stomach, my toes, my entire body. Takumi's chest, his stomach, his toes, his entire body. With no mercy in sight, stakes both thick and sharp continued pounding into me. Into him. Ich finde das sehr interessant, dass da zwei gleichzeitig laufen.
しかもカブトムシとか蝶とかじゃない。お前みたいなガキにはコガネムシあたりがお似合いだ。
I couldn't stand for another second. Takumi could not stand for another second. Willpower alone was all that kept me from collapsing. Suwa was buffeted at what could possibly be keeping him from collapsing. But I was almost at my limit. My field of vision was becoming pixelated. It was hard to see anymore. As those he liked, he could not see anymore.
遺言があるならいいな。ただし20時以内だ。
Tightly clutching the next stake, Suwa was talking to me as if he had already won. Talking to Takumi as if he had already won. The next would kill me. The next would kill him.
さっき童貞やろうって言った。
傷ついたのか。
Using his voice in the distance as a guide, I glared in Suwa's direction. Through the light in Takumi's eyes was soon to die. I glared in.
これが最後の一本。信仰の救いはお前にはやらねえよ。
I could sense the air tearing around the stakes that Suwa hurled.
知ってる。
The stake would serve as a cross, the messenger bringing both certain death and the promised gospel. Death would come to whomever it struck.
童貞の妄想力はすごいんだ。
A dull thud resounded. The stake had deeply penetrated his forehead. An incredible burst of pain exploded within Suwa, gushing from every part of his body, as if it had been entirely an illusion. The intense pain that had consumed every part of my entire body immediately disappeared. Suwa let out a mute scream writhing in agony. I let out a deep breath and slowly licked my dry lips. An array of cross-shaped stakes penetrated Suwa's entire body. There was a single cross-shaped stake in my hand. When he looked upward, he saw the cross-shaped stake embedded in his forehead. When I looked upward, I saw the overcast, gloomy sky above.
復活の奇跡は物語で妄想なんだ。何をした妄想シンクロ。
Assimilation unto a delusion, erosion unto the mind. Like two ripples negating one another, like two wavelengths resonating with one another. Entangling together, melting together. A fate which the thoughts created by one, a fate which the thought created by another. Switching them out, switching them in. There's no way that's possible, Suwa thought to himself. There's no way that's possible, Suwa's expression laid his thoughts bare.
神の先兵ならメシアと同じように朽ち果てろ。
Takumi tossed the stake away. I tossed the stake away. Color was quickly fading from Suwa's field of vision. Light was quickly fading from Suwa's eyes.
それと僕は救いなんかいらないよ。
Suwa could no longer reply. Without falling to the ground, he breathed his final breath. I made my way back into the station. Kozupi's eyes were wide and her mouth hung open. She was completely stunned. Seeing all that must have really surprised her. Her leg was covered in so much blood it was hard to look at.
コズピ大丈夫？
Without getting up from the ground, she nodded. It didn't look like she was able to stand on her own. Her shimmering eyes looked up at me.
たくみさん、今何が起きたの？
Oh, cute. Kozupi, you're talking out loud.
あ、本当だ。
Putting a finger to her lips, she tilted her head in surprise. But she seemed to forget about it pretty quickly after that.
童貞さんの妄想力はすごいの？
Oh, Scheiße. Oh, Scheiße. Das endet nicht gut.
すごいよ。
Senna once told me ignorance was a sin, but I don't quite agree with that. Not knowing things goes hand in hand with delusions. The less you know, the more your delusions can grow and surge, to the point of infinity, really. Therefore, if you already know and have experienced everything, there would be nothing left to fantasize about. And if there's one thing versions definitely lack, it's experience. So it only makes sense that their delusions are the best around. Speaking of Senna, where was she? I shot the dimly lit platform for her. She was standing at the edge of platform, hanging her head. And at her feet
畑野さん。
was Hatano Issei, lying in a pool of his own blood. He showed no signs of moving, leading me to realize he was already dead. I was too late. If anyone was going to know where to find Noah 2, it would have been him.
ノア2は渋谷駅のすぐ横にある。
As if she had read my mind, with her eyes still aiming down at Hatano-san, at the corpse of her dead father. Senna began to murmur something.
この男が死ぬ間際に私の心に伝えてきた。渋谷駅の東口、ビルの屋上にある。今は閉鎖されたプラネタリウム。そこにノア2がある。
どう思う？
I wasn't sure if I should have said something to her, or just stayed silent. She hated her father, enough to want him dead. And even though her wish had come true, from where I stood she looked miserable as could be.
くそ、私をかばって、それで罪を償ったつもりか。
Her words were targeted at her father's lifeless corpse, but he said nothing in return, and he never would again.
お前は自分の罪を認めた。その上で私に見せつけるように 自殺したようなものだ。
Oh.
許せない。私はお前を許さない。
セナさん、心が泣いてるの。
Oh.
本当はお父さん殺したくなかったのら。
It was just as Kosopi said, and with those words Senna's usual resolute demeanor disappeared. Oh. Her shoulders trembled. Heartbroken, she fell to her knees.
どうして生きて罪を償おうとしないんだ。どうして私を一人にするんだ。どうして。
セナ、
西条、お願い。
Senna raised her head. The teary expression on her face now was nothing like the stern one she always wore.
ノア2を壊して。
Suffering from a terrible grief, she spoke with the fragility of a girl who had just lost the only family she had left.
僕を殺そうとしたくせに君のお願いなんて聞く義理はないよ。
匠さん、
Turning my back towards Senna and Kosopi, I began to march down the tunnel to Shibuya Station. Before me were two giant gaping holes. A deep darkness stretched deep inside both of them. Passing through them would be the quickest way to go to Shibuya Station.
僕の目的のためだけにノア2を壊す。絶対に。
I had the feeling Senna said something after that, but I wasn't listening anymore. A single colossal device held the attention of two men. Inohana Kozo, a member of the House of Representatives, and Kuromachi Yudai, the founder of the Cosmic Church of the Divine Light. An ominous hum continually sounded from the device from Noah 2, beckoning a nod of satisfaction from the both of them.
5000人を殺すと言い出した時はどうなることかと思ったが、
調整には随分と骨が折れたよ。特に300人委員会に感づかれないようにするのはね。
ご協力に感謝します。
Noah gave a very slight nod.
だがこれが完成した今、5000人などちっぽけな数字でしかなくなった。
早くも影響が目に見えて出てきているよ。人々の家畜化が始まっている。
これでいよいよ我らが世界を手に入れる日も現実のものとなったわけだ。
Inohana and Kuramochi looked into one another, exchanging sinister smirks. Nosu meanwhile simply gazed at them, his face not even so much as twitching.
しかしのろせよ。貴様、なかなか興味深い趣味を持っているようじゃないか。何のことでしょう。
Inohana smiled crudely, then gestured with his head towards the tableau erected near
な
Noah
ん
2.
とも芸術性にあふれるオブジェだ。ぜひわしにも一つ用意してもらいたいものだな。
素材ならば我が教団の信者の中からえりすぐりを提供してもよい。
倉持先生は気前がいい。
あれは餌ですよ。
餌？
ノア2をより完璧なものにするための。
まあそういうことにしておこう。
それよりノア2が具体的にどれほどのことができるのか実演してもらいたいところだね。
もうそれはいい。早速やってみせたまえ。
Noah slightly shrugged his shoulders, his impassive facial expression remaining ever present.
ではこのようなものはどうですか。
By the time his words reached their conclusion, the demonstration had already begun. In the blink of an eye, Inohana and Kuromochi came to realize that they were both holding handguns. Neither Noa2 nor Norose had made a single movement, and yet this miraculous happening had become undeniably reality.
おお、本物そっくりだ。
まるで手品のようだよ。
手品と一緒にしてもらっては困ります。その銃の存在は現実。
The eyes fixated on the handguns within the grass. Inohana and Kuramochi nodded in satisfaction for a second time.
実に素晴らしい。
いかにも神をも超越する力だ。
この銃は記念にもらっておくとするか。
小物ですね。
To the other two men present in the room, Norris's faint whisper was inaudible.
早速今後の計画を検討しよ
う。まずは300人委員会の排除。
ノロセ、ご苦労だったな。
今後のことは追って連絡する。
The two were thoroughly pleased with themselves and the project and moved to leave the premise with beyond steps. And yet...
その必要はありません。
Jetzt droppt er die Bombe, bin ich der Meinung. Norris's expression found itself changing for the first time. He narrowed his eyes slightly, raised his jaw and stared at them from where he stood. His attitude was one of intense scorn, as if he were fiercely looking down on them. No, in truth, he was looking down on them.
計画は私が引き継ぎましょう。ただし、あなた方の考えているような低俗な目的ではなく、より崇高な理由のためにです。
Norris's tone remained civil and polite. Beginning to understand what exactly he was conveying, the two men naturally became infuriated.
貴様、裏切るのか。
神にでもなったつもりかね。
300人委員会が黙ってはおらんぞ。
お二人も300人委員会のメンバーでありながら反旗を翻そうとしていたではありませんか。
Norris's eyes watched them carefully, and housed within them was a raw, unending contempt. His gaze was cold as could be. It was as if he was being forced to study two monoliths of pure rot and filth. His gaze conveyed a very particular meaning, one that revealed he had only been using this tool from the very start.
すべて予定通りの行動ですよ。あなた方がここで死ぬことも含めて。
ふざけるな。
ざれ言を。
Kurmachin aimed the guns at Norris. They moved to pull the trigger. The trigger's sehr blöde Idee, sehr, sehr blöde Idee, was die da machen.
ざれ言ではなく。
Damit sind beide tot. The two guns fired simultaneously. The roars echoed within the dome.
予知だったのですが。
And yet it was not Norris who had fallen, but Inohana and Kuramochi. Ey, ich lese immer den Namen falsch ab. For some unfathomable reason, they had taken the sights off of Norris right before pulling the triggers, and shot each other instead. The deaths had been instant. The two compatriots then collapsed. They had put holes into each other's heads, and now they were nothing more than lumps of meat who would never draw breath again.
ノア2は我が手にあります。特物にはその意味がお分かりにはならなかったようだ。
Norris's demonstration had been about more than simply showing off guns. Its purpose had been to make the two men mistake each other for Norris and take their own lives in the process. That was the real demonstration. And with the power of Noa2, it had been beyond trivial to perform. Next, Norris turned towards his table. Affixed there was the figure of Sakyata Rimi. She had begged Norris to let Nanami go, and thus she had then been taken hostage in her place. Due possibly to the mental attacks by Nanami, Rimi's energy had long since faded. Lingu had pointed towards the ground as she hung affixed. Yet when Norris strode toward her, her shoulders were so slightly trembled.
自分の手を汚さずに
なたこそ俗物だよ。
The back of Norris's hand struck her cheek. Following this, he grabbed Remy by the jaw and forced her to look at him. Even though nearly all life had left her expression, even as she desperately fought to keep her eyes open, her glare flared with an ardent blaze directed solely at Norris.
なぜ西条匠に助けを求めないのです？
Norris whispered close to her ear.
彼を巻き込まないで。
どちらの彼のことを言っているのですか？
二人とも。いや、
私としてはどちらか一人で十分ですがね。 IR2 を生み出したものとその完全なるコピー、二人とも化け物じみた力を持っている。彼らどちらかのコードサンプルが手に入ればノア2はより完璧へと近づくでしょう。神をも超える力を得るのです。
Remy lowered her eyes in anguish. He fiercely tore away the hands that had been holding her jaw, and his gaze rose up to Noah to a smile formed from the corners of his mouth.
さあ、呼びかけなさい。どちらでもいい。私は歓迎しますよ。
Rather, that was exactly what he had been waiting for. After surmounting all of Norris's trials devised specifically for him, Nishito Takumi would arrive in this very location. Und an dem Punkt würde ich sagen, beende ich dann jetzt auch die Folge. Vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen und bis zum nächsten Mal. Ciao.